Hello everyone, welcome to another 5-minute Bible study. Today I wanted to go over a few verses in the book of Daniel. It's one of my favorite stories and verses lately. It's Daniel 3 verses 13 through 18. And so I wanted to read verses specifically 16 through 18 because that is where the bulk of what I'll be talking about today is. So in verses 16, Daniel 3:16, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to give you an answer to this question. If the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire. And he can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue that you set up. So if you're unfamiliar with this story, it is about three Hebrew boys who refused to bow down to the king's golden statue. They were determined to live a life devoted to the Lord and a life of purity, and that meant keeping only the Lord as their God. And so when King Nebuchadnezzar built his statue and ordered everyone to bow down to it, they refused and were called in front of him. And he asks them, who is this God that you serve that will rescue you from my power? And they're so bold that they say, we really don't have to answer your question, but now that you asked, let us answer it. And they say, if we serve the God that we serve and he is able to rescue us, then he will save us from whatever threats that you have for us. And it's important to understand that when the word able is being used here, it's not used in the sense like if he can do it, if he has the ability, or if he's strong enough to do it. No, it's more lined up with if God desires. So if God desires to save us, because he can, if God desires to save us from whatever you have threatened us with, he will save us. And then they go forward and they say, but even if he doesn't, because we know he can, even if he doesn't, we're still not going to give up our devotion to you or your gods for the sake of our own God. And I love this so much because each time that I read it, I'm faced with questions about my own faith and about my own fear and about things in my life that tend to come up. And so they communicate three important things. They communicate that they're not afraid of the furnace. They're not afraid of the king, who is number one in the country that they're currently living in, that they're currently captured by. So we're not afraid of the king, we're not afraid of his vices, and we're not afraid of the outcome of our situation. What they were saying was, it doesn't matter if we die or if we live, we serve the one true God, and we are not bowing down to anybody or anything but him. And so they decided that they were going to stand firm. And I love this because it forces us to face our worst fears, right? When we think about situations in our lives or things that we're dealing with, it can bring so much fear into our hearts and in our minds if by thinking about the worst outcomes, right? Like, what if so-and-so does this? Or what if I end up being like this? Or what if I end up going down this route, if God decides that he doesn't want to save me or rescue me. And I think what the three Hebrew boys are communicating was that it doesn't matter if our worst fears come true. It doesn't matter, because our knowledge and our devotion to the Lord is greater than anything that this world will throw at me, anything that anybody can do to me. So if you are believing God for a miracle, right? If you're praying, if you're seeking him for a life or death situation, if you have it in your heart to resolve to worship God no matter the outcome, then you're gonna say, even if my worst fears come true, I will serve the Lord. So if you yourself are asking yourself, what if God doesn't heal my body or heal somebody else that I love? What if God doesn't heal your marriage or save your children or rescue you from this or that or anything that can come your way, what would it look like in your life and in your faith and in your family to say, even if those things do happen, I will serve the Lord because he is good and he is God. And I know that there is no one else in this world that I would rather give my life and my heart to. So I challenge that to you today. If you are really struggling with something, resolve to serve the Lord as hard as it can get. It's not saying that they weren't facing real trials. They really were. Like, they were about to lose their lives for all they knew. But if we know God and we trust God and we love God, we know that having him is better than having anything else in this world. So I just leave this with you this week. Pray that you all have a blessed week, and we will see you next time.